Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in today's DM Connect webinar. My name is Nina, and I'm the Professional Education Manager at Dental Monitoring. And I'm so thrilled to have you all here as we dive into how innovative branding and marketing strategies combined with the power of remote monitoring can help transform your practice into the clear choice for patients. Leading today's session is Dr. Dan Bills, who is a renowned orthodontist and educator. Dr. Bills earned his dental degree with honors from Harvard University and completed his orthodontic residency at the University of Illinois. He is board certified with the American Board of Orthodontics and is a fellow of the American College of Dentists, and he is the founder of Innovative Orthodontics, which is a thriving multi-location practice in Southern New Jersey. In addition to teaching at Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania, where he's been recognized as Teacher of the Year, Dr. Bills lectures internationally on topics ranging from clinical excellence to practice growth strategies. And today he'll share some key insights from the Wharton AAO Mastering the Business of Orthodontics program, including how experiential branding and technology-based conveniences like remote monitoring can set your practice apart. So with that being said, I'll now hand it over to Dr. Dan Bills to get us started.
Thank you, Nina. Great introduction. It's a lot to live up to. Thank you guys for being on your lunch hour on a Friday with me, and we're going to have some fun over the next hour talking about something that I'm extremely passionate about, and that is experiential branding in orthodontics. First and foremost, thank you to Nina and to Celine and the entire dental monitoring team for putting this together. I really appreciate all of their support, and they're just such a pleasure to work with. Before I get started, wanted all of you, if you've seen me lecture before, I love to share. I wanted to give you guys my email address. If you have any follow-up questions, shoot me an email. There also is a website and a QR code there. If you would like, go to that website or click on that QR code. And next week, my staff will send you every slide that we're going through today. So you'll have a handout with every single slide that we go through. This is my wife, Emily, and my daughter, Caroline. Emily is a pediatric dentist. Caroline is a remarkable 10-year-old who claims she wants to follow in mom and dad's footsteps. So we'll see what happens. We live in Southern New Jersey, outside of Philadelphia. So we look forward to welcoming many of you to the AAO annual session in Philadelphia in April. As Nina mentioned, I've got 3 practice locations in Southern New Jersey. I opened the very first practice in September of 2008, exactly 1 month before the entire world economy collapsed. So learning how to market, learning how to brand, learning a lot of the lessons that we're going to talk about today was essential to thriving in interesting times. As Nina mentioned, I am on faculty at 2 different universities. I'm on faculty at the University of Pennsylvania and also at Harvard University in Boston. Love to teach. I've been very blessed to lecture at many AAOs and in countries all over the globe. Actually, just got back from Slovakia last week. Speak with an amazing group of Eastern European orthodontics. So teaching is a huge passion of mine. And as Nina mentioned, we do an in-office course in our office if anybody wants to see the topics we're going to talk about in the next hour, as well as a variety of other technology-based solutions in practice. There's a QR code there. Feel free to come out and join. All right, couple of disclosures. Obviously, dental monitoring is supporting this webinar, as you guys know, but just wanted to point that out. I also am a key opinion leader and consultant for American Orthodontics. We're not talking about any clinical ortho today, so there should be no biases there, but just wanted to make you all aware of that ahead of time. So based on the topic of this conversation, or sorry, topic of this lecture, should not be a surprise that the material that we're going to talk about comes from what, to me, was one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my career. Like many of you, as an orthodontic resident and as a biology major in dental school, sorry, in college, and then in dental school, and then as an ortho resident, almost no training in the business of orthodontics. So kudos to the AAO for partnering up with the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania to put this program together. My module is just one of many. I was blessed to be tagged to do the branding section, which is some of the material we're going to talk about today. But just a tremendous online learning opportunity for all of you if you haven't done it yet. Learning basic business principles that every MBA student learns in their first year by some of the best faculty on the planet, and then followed up with what those lessons mean to a practicing orthodontist, me being one of those. So if you have not done this yet, I highly recommend it. It was incredible. So a lot of the lessons we're going to talk about come from things I learned during that program. So starting out, let's talk a little bit about, what is a brand? And this means different things to different people. So formally, a brand is a trademark for a product or service, right? We all want to legally protect our brand and trademark it. However, conceptually, a brand is so much more than that. It's a contract from a company to its customers. It's a promise of benefits, a promise of quality, a promise of value. And honestly, it's a relationship to the brands that we know and trust. It's consistency. It has to have tangible benefits, and it comes with expectations. To be quite honest, and in our interconnected modern world, the true definition of a brand is whatever a customer thinks it is. And I love this quote. This is something I talk to my team about all the time, and that is that a brand is no longer what we tell the consumer that it is. It's what consumers, or in our case, our patients, tell each other that it is. So, what sits in the customer's heads, regardless of what we try to put there, is what our brand is. So, when we think about companies, and I've read so much on business and leadership, like many of you, and people always come back to the same companies as people that understand this concept. So, if we look at a Disney or an Apple or a Google, what the company thinks their brand is matches what the consumer thinks that their brand is. And when that happens, things are magical, right? Like many of your experiences with Apple or Disney. But if a company's message is not clear, what we want our brand to mean may be different than what customers think that it means. And the customer always wins. And as somebody that does a lot of coaching and consulting in the orthodontic space, I've talked to a lot of different orthodontists and about what they think their brand is. And we're high tech, we're high service. And then I walk into their practice and it hasn't been renovated in 30 years, and there's dark wood paneling on the walls. And the person sitting at the front desk doesn't even look up from their computer to acknowledge my presence. That is a problem, right? Because who the company wants to be or who they think they are is not at all who that customer or that consumer or that patient thinks they are. And the customer's always right. So I tell people we have to do market research to figure out what customers think about our brand. And the term market research, if you were talking to, somebody at a Fortune 500 company, that would be hiring a marketing firm, spending a lot of money, having them, do all sorts of surveys and cold calls and visit your competition, talk to your clients, and figure out what our brand is in that particular market. You could certainly do that, and I'm not telling you not to. But for me, market research is very easy, and quite frankly, it's free. My advice: get on the parents groups and the community groups on Facebook in the communities where you practice. If you can get in, great. If there's like a mom group and you're a male orthodontist, maybe they won't let you in. Have a female team member do it for you, and they'll vet them and they'll get into these groups. And then sit back. My advice is be prepared to see and hear some things you may not want to. And just in the search box, put in orthodontist or orthodontics, and you are going to read years of commentary, market research on what your community thinks about you, what they think about the other practices in your town, and you're going to learn a ton. And hopefully, you're going to read a lot of good stuff, and hopefully that good stuff reflects what you think your brand is. But if you think your brand is high touch, high service, and all you read about is that your staff is grumpy and you always run 45 minutes behind, then that's an opportunity to put in some work to remedy it. Um, so marketing 101, these are not my concepts. This is straight out of the Wharton School of Business. Effective brand communication must follow three fundamental principles. Okay. The first is the principle of customer value. And what that is that if we want a patient to start orthodontic treatment, we have to give them real, genuine customer value. So when I teach this, I tell people this is basically, why do I need or want orthodontics for either myself or my child? Okay, so why orthodontics? The second one is the principle of differentiation. So if you want a patient to choose your office for their orthodontic care, we have to differentiate from the competition, from the other practices in our area, right? So the first question is why orthodontics? The second question, this differentiation factor, is why innovative orthodontics, right? Why my practice or why your practice? The third, and the first two come naturally to most people. The third is a little bit more, more nuanced and something very much worth paying attention to. And that is the principle of segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And essentially what this says, we all practice in what's referred to as a customer-focused market, right? The customer, the patient is always right. We can't deliver value to everybody and be successful. Okay, so let's look at an example of this. Let's say you wanted to open a cafe of some kind, and your cafe, you can only do one drink, and you're like, okay, we are a cafe serving tea. There are people that love hot tea. Okay, it's getting cold here in Philadelphia. We want hot tea right now. That's my market. Okay, there are other people that like iced tea, right? That's their market. You could say as a business owner, and certainly this is your right, that what, I could only serve one drink right now. I'm going to meet in the middle, and I'm just going to serve lukewarm tea. Okay, it sounds funny because nobody likes lukewarm tea. And the reality is your cafe would be out of business before you even started. But it's no different in any other industry. We can't make everybody happy. We can't be the orthodontist for the practice that wants high touch, high service, and also the one that wants the absolute cheapest price, for example. So what this principle tells us is if we want to be successful, with our branding, we have to segment the market into different groups, right? That's the first part. Then we have to target the segment on which we want to focus. And then we position our brand to meet the needs of that target segment if we want to be successful. So let's talk a little bit about a concept called experiential branding. Okay, so in our connected community in which we live, we're in this social media driven, digitally driven world. The notion of customer experience becomes very important to our brand. Our brands have become very experiential. So it's not just enough. We used to define our brands in words, right? These crisp, clear brand mantras, position statements, why statements. In today's world, whether we like it or not, we have to define all of the experiences that exist around our brand. So we've totally redefined what a brand is in the modern world. Today's brands are not just differentiated, they are experientially differentiated. And we'll look at some examples of that. Brands are not just a singular promise. Okay, they are a relationship. We are dating the brands that we work with, right? And I keep coming back to Apple. I'm a Mac guy. I'm dating Apple, and sometimes they let me down when something doesn't work the way that I want it to work. And I have those expectations that come along with that relationship. It's not just about product attributes, it's about a personality. Those same brands have a personality that we either like or don't like, and it's almost like they become our friends. Brands are no longer static, they are constantly moving and are dynamic. It's not a mass brand. Okay. This is not a brand that we put out there to the masses. We connect on an individual level. We co-create the brand. I know I'm not the only orthodontist in this webinar right now that has patients that are helping us either determine what our brand is or bringing it to their schools or their community. They're co-creating the brand with us, and it's pretty powerful and fun. And we are not just aware of the brands in our life, we are aware of how relevant that brand is to our world, okay? How that brand fits into our day-to-day existence. And it's pretty fun. And really strong brands embody all of this emotional experience. So let's look at some experiential components. Brands have to be consistent across all five senses. I know it sounds weird, but your brand, whether you like it or not, has a smell. It has a taste. Okay. We make it a point that the taste of our brand is not the taste of the adhesives that we use. We give all of our bonds when they get their braces on, a little piece of chocolate that's a mint flavored ganache to kind of leave them with a better taste in their mouth. Okay. Our brand has a sound. What music are you playing in the office? What does that do to the patient when they walk in? How does it make them feel? Our brands have emotions. Okay. We have to appeal to the customer's inner feelings. We have to connect strong, positive feelings with that brand. We have to engage. We have to use surprise. We have to use intrigue. We have to use provocation when it comes to our brand. We have to enrich people's lives. We have to motivate and we have to inspire. So every successful company, regardless of size or industry, is successful because they inspire people. Okay. And you can't cheat that. The opposite, I don't know if you ever thought about the opposite of inspiration. The opposite of inspiration is manipulation. Okay. And if your brand is manipulating people, if you are doing a bait and switch, if you're telling people that you're high touch, high service, and then you're not treating them that way, they may come into your office for the initial exam. They may even start treatment with their first child, but they're not going to be inspired to bring in kids 2, 3, 4, 5, or to go to the coffee shop or the soccer field and tell everybody that you are the only choice for orthodontic care, because they're going to feel like they got manipulated. Okay. But if you inspire people, you are going to create raving fans, and that's where the power comes from. We have to be social, right? We want people to feel like they're a part of our community and that they belong. So marketing 101 again, experiential branding has 4 Ps. Okay. We're going to look at each one of these in detail. The first P is product. The second P is place. The third P is promotion. And the fourth P is price. Okay. So product, place, promotion, and price. So let's look at each one of these. Okay. What is our product in orthodontics? And I think everybody on this call is a practicing orthodontist or a team member. I do a lot of teaching to orthodontic residents. And when I ask them this particular question, I tend to get, answers like, well, braces are part of my brand, or clear aligners are part of my brand. And sometimes, a healthy class 1 occlusion with a beautiful smile, that's part of my brand. And yes, I mean, those things are true and they could be an integral part of it. But that is not my product. Okay. I am not selling braces. I am not selling aligners. I'm not even selling straight teeth. In my practice, we are very clear. We are selling confidence, right? My product is giving people the confidence that they need to achieve everything that they deserve in life. And then we build marketing campaigns around that product. And the power of that is incredible. Okay. So much more powerful. None of these pictures have kids in braces. Nobody's wearing aligners in these photos, right? We are showing the confidence that we can give people by choosing our office for their orthodontic care. Okay, so that's the first P, right? Our product. The second P is place. And this is where a lot of people think a little too simplistically because, yes, our place most certainly is our physical office, right? The four walls in which we practice. But in today's world, our place is also in the virtual world. Okay. How are we communicating with patients? Are we using two-way text messaging? What is our website telling people or showing people? Are we utilizing technologies like remote care for our patients? That is a part of our place, and that is undeniable. A fundamental truth that we all need to wrap our heads around is that today's orthodontic patient expects technology-based, personalized conveniences. Okay, and we have seen that technology-based, personalized conveniences have completely disrupted and transformed every single industry, every one. And yet, when I talk to orthodontists, we seem to have our head in the sand or in the clouds that this isn't going to impact us. And I have to fundamentally disagree with that statement, right? So, technology based conveniences have forever changed the way that we shop. If I never have to go into a store like this in my life, it will be too soon, right? There's nothing we can't get online. Technology-based conveniences have completely changed the way that we shop. For me, I don't go to the big box grocery store ever anymore. Everything is on Instacart. I still go to my local butcher. I go to my local cheesemonger. I go to my local produce shop to get things that have to be, totally fresh. But when it comes to everything else, it's all online. The way that we go to movies changed forever. Okay. With the exception of the fact that my daughter is begging me to take her to Wicked when I get off of this webinar. So that's my afternoon. So that is one exception to that, I suppose. My 10-year-old wins that one. If it were up to me, I would wait until I could stream it online. The way that we the way that we travel, right? The way that we get around in cities. As somebody that travels a lot, I just traveled all over Europe for the last couple of weeks doing some teaching. Every place I went, open up my phone, and a car is there in 2 minutes. With winter coming, I remember my days living in Boston as a dental student, hailing a cab on a Friday night after being out with my friends, freezing for 30, 40 minutes trying to get somebody to pay attention to me. Those days are gone and they are never going back, thanks to technology-based conveniences. The way that we dine changed forever. The way that we work out changed forever. And yet, we still have colleagues, and some of you may be, on this call where you're thinking, do I really need virtual treatment platforms like DM in order to pivot into the next century? And I think the days of a patient scheduling monthly orthodontic appointments or even appointments every 2 months in the traditional way are gone, and they're never going back. So for me, this was a process that some of you may have seen me lecture years ago. I actually gave a lecture during COVID on very bare bones virtual treatment platforms that we had in place to manage, the pandemic. But I've been watching dental monitoring from the sidelines for years. I mean, since they started, and I always knew it was a remarkable company with great tech. But I didn't go all in until April of 2023. So for us, we're coming up on almost, about a year and a half that we've been on board. And I took these numbers a couple weeks ago, so it was the end of October, where we've scanned over 2,400 patients with dental monitoring. We currently are tracking patients in active treatment, in retention, in observation, almost up to 1,800 patients that we're currently tracking. So we're all in, and I'm going to give you, with the time that we have, just some basic examples of how I think dental monitoring is a part of our place in today's world. We're using them for all our remote new patient examinations. We're using DM as part of our place for observation patients, for all clear aligner patients, for all braces patients, and for all retention patients. And I'm going to show you little examples of each of those. So I firmly believe that dental monitoring is part of our place in the new patient process. Okay. And this is really where I started with remote care many, many years ago. And before anybody asks, we are going to have a Q&A at the end of this, there's still a lot of questions about using virtual tools for remote exams. So let's answer a few fundamental questions. Do I believe that I'm treating without a comprehensive examination? In my case, absolutely not. I feel that we're providing basic information based on images that are securely submitted. And clearly, a full exam requires an in-office visit, possibly a reduced one, which I'm going to show you how we manage it, and radiographs. However, I think we're delusioning ourselves if we think that a full evaluation is what every patient wants. Okay. Some of our patients really just want to know, am I a candidate for orthodontics? Or am I a candidate for clear aligners or braces? And maybe roughly how much that's going to cost, right? So I don't think that people want to get in the car, want to drive 15, 20 minutes or more to our office, want to fill out paperwork, sit in our office, really to find out, am I a candidate for orthodontics, right? They might want to answer those basic questions first, and remote treatment tools allow us to do that. The second question I get all the time is, are remote new patient exams direct to consumer, right? We're all happy at all the positive changes that, most of our direct to consumer options are no longer. And you can ask any of my colleagues. I've been telling people that since they came onto the scene, that they wouldn't last, and it's been fun to watch. Is this just an extension of that? There are a lot of people that were using remote tools to compete with some of these direct-to-consumer options, and now that they're gone, they're abandoning them. And I think we're missing the point there. The answer to it, as far as I'm concerned, is no. These are not direct-to-consumer or do-it-yourself options. These are tools for quality orthodontic offices, not a direct-to-consumer solution. It's intended to provide accessibility and convenience that our patients are requesting, without sacrificing the quality and experience that our patients deserve by coming in to see us. And I'll show you how we're using it. I also get asked, are we giving away our treatment plans or services? And I kind of have to laugh at that because I know where people are going. And in the nicest way possible, if you think that an actual ortho diagnosis is your office's main value proposition, it's likely you're not going to enjoy where the industry is going, right? Diagnosing patients expect that we all know how to diagnose and we all know how to treat well. Okay, they assume that our education and our training have gotten us to that point. Whether or not you think that's accurate or not, whether you think your school is better than somebody else's or your skills are better than somebody else's, our patients don't think so, and marketing data supports that. They look at it like that's our job. That's what they pay for. It's everything else that we do that makes somebody choose our office rather than the one down the street. So why? What's our differentiating factor? So the solution that we use and have been using probably since before April of 2023, we're probably coming up on 2.5 years of DM Engage, right? So dental monitoring's asynchronous new patient exam platform. So I wanted to briefly kind of show you how it works for us. Our first step, the patient accesses DM Engage either through our website or through the website, either on a desktop or on a smartphone. At this point, I'll spare you guys from going into too much detail. You probably have seen how easy it is on a smartphone for a patient to input basic information, to utilize the incredible cameras, the new iPhones. I mean, even the 15, but certainly the 16, the cameras are ridiculous. Patient can take a photo right on their phone and upload it to us. Step 3, the doctor reviews the records, and an AI-generated report is evaluated by the doctor and then sent to the patient. It's that AI piece, in my opinion, that sets DM Engage apart from any other competitor. I've used other products. I've tested other products. I know there are others out there. The problem becomes me or somebody on my team has to review everything and then check boxes just to say this case is crowded, this one's spacing, this one has an overbite, and then generate the report that way. All of this can very easily be done with AI in today's world, and DM Engage is an only-in-class product for that. So let's review a report. I just did one on myself. So you'll see this is all AI generated. This is the doctor-facing portal. So this is what I see. I view the report first. So the patient sees nothing until I review it. So if I don't like what the AI did, I can remedy it. I can change it. But what I'm seeing, overbite overjet looks good. I've got a little bit of upper crowding. Nothing too crazy there. Okay. I can send that to the patient by email. Okay. The patient receives that. They get some basic information. So this is congrats on your successful first step on your journey to a beautiful, confident smile. We had the chance to review all of the pictures you submitted, and a detailed report of our findings is attached. Patients love seeing that. But the next step will be to visit us in the office for some additional orthodontic records that could not be done at home. We have told them, hey, this looks great. I think the next sentence is very clear. Clinically speaking, based on what we saw, we believe you'd be a candidate for either braces or aligners. That's what they wanted to find out. But we told them why they then had to come in, because you will get patients that just expect, okay, let's start treatment. I don't recommend doing that, right? I still want to see them in the office. So we tell them there are records that we need to take in the office. So the next step is to come in for a short exam. We then review basic fee information. This is very personal. You may want to do it, you may not. The cost of braces or clear aligner therapy can range anywhere from $2,000 to $6,500, all depending on the complexity of the required treatment. Regardless of the price, we will set up an affordable, no interest payment plan that works with any budget. In most cases, we can get monthly payments between $150 and $200 a month. Okay. So basic information on what they can expect fee-wise, and that we're going to make their treatment wildly affordable. They can then view that report. They have to access it with their date of birth, so it's HIPAA compliant, and they see a very user-friendly report. I've got one upper lateral, the upper left could probably use a touch-up. That shows up in my report. And then the report says, hey, you're a great candidate for either aligners or braces, with some patient education materials on how aligners work, how braces work. Then what I love, and this is where the AI comes in because you have to do nothing to utilize this, there's a smile simulation. So you'll be able to see, and this is a video that the patient gets, all AI driven, on what those teeth are going to look like after they're straight. So in my case, it's minimal, but as I look at that upper left too, going from crooked to straight, I'm about to scan myself for some touch-up aligners. Okay, so pretty powerful stuff. And then the patient hopefully goes to the book appointment tool and makes an appointment in our office, which is fun. Okay. Step 5, this is that in-office consultation. So this is a 30-minute, what we refer to as a TC only consult, where the doctor does a flyby, reviews the records quickly, makes sure everything looks okay, but the TC is managing most of that consult. But we've gotten good pictures, a PAN, a Ceph, full records for us to evaluate. Then we start to discover the lead capture capabilities of DM Engage. And this is, I give full credit to Lexi, one of my treatment coordinators. It's like, Dr. Bills, look at this. So if you looked at those steps that the patient goes through, the first one is put in your name, then put in your phone number and your email. And then the next screen says, okay, take pictures of your teeth. There are going to be patients that look and say, oh no, this is weird. I don't feel like taking pictures of my teeth, or, that's just too much extra effort. And they stop. What the DM Engage dashboard shows me is that this patient has an incomplete assessment, okay, which tells us they didn't finish it. So what we can then do is reach out to them by text. Hi, this is Lexi at Innovative Orthodontics. I noticed that you started a virtual appointment for Finley, but there were no photos attached. Would you prefer to schedule an in-office consult instead? That would be great. Perfect. We have an office in Sicklerville, Woolwich, and Mount Laurel, which would work best for you. Woolwich would be great. Okay. And then we go ahead and get them scheduled. So, in summary, remote new patient exams, in my opinion, do not replace the doctor in any way. They should simply make it easier for some patients, it's not for everybody, to get the information they want in a way that is easy for the doctor to provide. And the way I talk to teams about this, if you are not offering this, there are going to be people that choose one of your competitors because they do offer it, or they may choose one of the DIY or direct to consumer options that are still out there. And there are some bottom feeders lingering. Okay. Um, Next, dental monitoring is a part of our place for observation patients. Okay. And I still have people that think, the dental monitoring tool doesn't work for visualizing everything I need to visualize. So I put in some examples just to point that out. In our office, we used to see patients for observation every 6 months in the office, and then we would take a pan on them once a year. Now we do every other observation utilizing dental monitoring, and we can easily see, especially remember, this is a patient that in May did an observation. 6 months prior to that, we had a progress pan and an office photo. So I can certainly see what's going on there. And even if I have a patient, this is one that came in and I'm looking and I'm like, ooh, that upper right C needs to come out. I could simply say to the patient through the dental monitoring communication portal, hi, thanks for taking your scan. We were excited to review it. At this point, we're going to make the recommendation to have this baby tooth removed by the dentist. We'll write a letter to your dentist. They should have it by tomorrow. If you have any questions, let us know. So we can even refer out utilizing what we can visualize there. Dental monitoring is a part of our place for our clear aligner patient. This is not an efficiency lecture. This is not a clear aligner biomechanic lecture, but I did just throw a sample case in there, just to point out we're all having fun with clear aligners these days. Okay, so this is one of my cases. Love what we're able to achieve. 17 months, in treatment, start to finish, and 9 visits. Okay. Some of you have seen me talk about efficiency and value per visit. This particular case, value per visit is $709, which is more than twice. The national average is 297, according to Gauge. So, very productive, very efficient treatment without sacrificing quality and clinical excellence. Here's where it gets fun. With these same treatment plans, now for our aligner patients, we are only bringing patients in when we need to physically touch their teeth, okay, when we need to scan them or when we need to do IPR. So we've eliminated all of the check visits incorporated in that treatment plan. So the same treatment with dental monitoring, now we can do in 6 visits, and we'll have data to support this soon. Again, we're only 18 months into this, so my early cases, we're starting to gather that data. But on that same case, my value per visit goes up over $300, almost $350, which is wild. And if you haven't seen yet, stay tuned because your mind is going to be blown over the next 6 to 12 months over 2 new features. The first is Dental Monitoring Plus. Talk to your rep about that. Not time to get into that today, but the second is the Smart STL file. The ability to stitch a dental monitoring scan with a initial intraoral scan in order to get progress STL files. So imagine with me if in this same protocol, a world where I don't have to bring the patient in for a refinement scan ever. So I've now eliminated 2 more visits in that sequence, which means I'm treating that same case with that same treatment plan with only 4 in-office visits. And my value per visit is up to almost $1,600, which is fascinating. So the future is incredibly bright, and I'm excited to be on that ride. Okay. This is just a look at the DM dashboard in case there's any people that aren't using it. Those of you that are, you already know all this. The before and after videos are phenomenal. It's a great patient education tool, great patient engagement tool. gets our patients to participate better in treatment because they see their own progress weekly and anecdotally. I haven't tested this yet, but our aligner compliance, in my opinion, has gone up, and patients are wearing their aligners more because they're following along with us. If anybody has an attachment off, so there's a patient, let me go back to that, with a lower right 6 attachment off. We're able to nip that in the bud. And in this particular case, I would communicate with the patient, tell them the attachment's off, let them know it's not a big deal. We'll get it back on at their next visit. So we're saving comfort checks. There are a lot of people that think that if you're automating communication, that you're losing that high touch factor. I think it's the opposite. We're in communication with our patients every week. Some of it is AI driven. We can also attach. Hello, Dr. Dan Bills here from
Communicate with
Innovative
our patients,
Orthodontics. I just wanted
and let
to
them know how
check
well.
in with you, let you know that we have been reviewing your scan. So, what about our braces patients? And this is where I get a lot of questions. How do I benefit from this with our braces patients? I think DM is an integral part of our place for braces patients for a variety of reasons. The first is monitoring and documenting oral hygiene. Again, anecdotally, I am seeing better hygiene than I have seen in years. Going to try to find a way to test that. We are detecting broken brackets before they delay treatment. As somebody that values every single visit, if we see a broken bracket before that teeth can move, and by we, I mean the AI with dental monitoring, if we catch that before the tooth can move, we can bring the patient back in, put the bracket back on, keep them in that arch wire before things can get off the rails. We're an SL practice, so we're picking up open doors, or if you're a twin practice, any elastomerics that are off, we can pick those up before they become a problem to keep treatment progressing forward. We can evaluate elastic participation with our patients. We are triaging and eliminating unnecessary comfort checks. How many times does a patient call you to say that something's off or something's broken? And in reality, it might just be a little wire poking or something that you could walk them through. We're no longer guessing or asking them to send us in smartphone photos. We're actually telling them, we're going to push you an alert to take a DM scan. I'm going to get the doctor's eyes on that immediately, and I'm going to give you a shout right back to let you know what next steps are. So triaging comfort checks has been amazing for us. And then we're evaluating archwire passivity, and we're moving towards dynamic scheduling wherever possible. So we're not guessing, is that patient ready for a new wire? And then just doing a retie, right? We're bringing them back in when we know that they're ready for that next wire. So just some examples of that, looking at hygiene. We're able to track that. And again, you guys know this is all AI driven, where patient gets an alert every single week. And what I notice, people usually start doing pretty well. They're motivated. Then, maybe it's week 10, 11. They start to slack off a little bit. They start to get some reports that hygiene is not the best, and that alerts them where they're going to pick it up again, right? Because they want to get a good report card. You're almost gamifying the hygiene experience, which is great. I also blame the AI from time to time in a good way, where, sometimes if I'm scolding the patient, they get upset, where I tell them, hey, you can't cheat the AI. I'm not the one letting you know about that. The AI knows. The AI sees that we got some work to do. So we're all in this together. Let's utilize what we learned from the AI and all work towards improvement. As far as this is an example of an open clip, maybe I wouldn't have noticed that, right? I hope that never happens on my patients. But if that patient comes in and that upper right 2 moves, we've got some issues, okay? And I'm going to delay that patient's treatment. What we did is we can communicate, we can annotate. Dental monitoring keeps getting better with their annotation tools to make it as easy as possible. We can annotate. We also made a video to show people how to close that clip themselves. And what we're finding is 8 or 9 out of 10 of these people can close that clip on their own instead of coming in for us to do it. So we're not having to bring the patient back unnecessarily. And then comfort visits, same thing. This is a patient that thinks something is off when in fact they have a pokey wire in the back, and we can triage that for them. Pretty cool stuff. Same thing, we can still make this incredibly high touch. We can do custom,
Hi, Dr. Dan Bills here. I know
videos,
we're approaching the end of your
letting
first week of
people know
treatment.
that we're thinking
So
of them.
proud of you. Please remember how important it is for you to take your scans when prompted so we can check in and see how well you're doing. See you soon.
So again, I look at this like I'm communicating better and more personally with my patients. Before and after videos are great. The dashboard, we have the dashboard open chair side. I encourage everybody to do that. It's very visual. It's about to get even better with DM Plus. Stay tuned for that or talk to your reps. It's just, the future is really, really bright. And for braces patients, here's a severe crowding case, where the patient can follow along on their journey, and really get excited about how much their teeth are moving. And finally, our retention patients. And this is where this is huge. I've always thought that retention is where efficiency is wasted so much in offices that I work with. So our current protocol in our office, upper lower full coverage thermoform retainers for all patients. We very rarely use bonded wires anymore, unless they're absolutely indicated large diastemas or parental insistence. We like full-time wear for 3 months and then nights only till they want to pay me for treatment again. And we don't do any unnecessary retainer checks in the office. So in fact, right now we're not doing any in-office retainer checks. So one remote retainer check with dental monitoring at 3 months. And then we switch to nights only and move patients to an alumni status, and they call us if they need us. Only one exception to this is if second molars are not fully erupted, and in good occlusion. We'll continue to monitor the patients in the office every 6 months or so until those come in. And dental monitoring is amazing at tracking whether or not a retainer's fitting. I mean, I can see everything that I need to see on here, and I can tell those retainers fit great. Why on earth would I make a patient drive all the way in for that? Um, as far as whether or not this is essential, that's up to you guys to decide. But I did want to share with you a cautionary tale that I've lived by, pretty much since I started my practice. Whenever I evaluate new technologies, Netflix, if you're old enough to remember, in the year 2000, Netflix wanted to sell its entire company to Blockbuster for $50 million. Okay, 50. And if you're laughing, you know where this is going. Um, Blockbuster passed on the deal, claiming the price was too high. And speaking about what happened, Netflix's former CFO said Blockbuster literally laughed them out of the office. This is the quote that just screams at me about a company with no vision and no no infinite mindset, right? Such a finite mindset. This is the Blockbuster CEO in 2008. I've been frankly confused by this fascination that everybody has with Netflix. Netflix really doesn't have or do anything that we can't or don't already do ourselves. 2 years later, Blockbuster was bankrupt. And as of last month, Netflix has a market cap of 322 billion with a B dollars. Okay, so companies rarely die from moving too fast, and they frequently die from moving too slowly, according to the co-founder and co-CEO of Netflix. So, something to pay attention to in the next few years of orthodontics as we watch where remote care is going. What is promotion? So the third P, what does that mean to orthodontics? Very simple. Make sure your branding is consistent. Make sure you're promoting the same way on your website, with any brochures that you do in the office, with the business cards. You probably have even noticed similar branded colors on all of my slides when I lecture to you guys. So our business cards, all of the artwork that we have in our office, all branded, all of our promotional materials are consistent. Finally, that fourth P, what about price, right? How can we make price experiential in orthodontics? Is this experiential? I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek, because it's an experience. It certainly isn't the experience that I want in my practice. So I'm going to say no to something like that, right? That's not the market that I'm going after. But we do such great things in our office. Let's celebrate it. Let's make price experiential. So in our practice, we don't charge more for aligners and we don't charge more for clear braces. So I think that is an experience. So if you choose that, advertise it, promote it. We also are very flexible with our financing. And this is one of our ad campaigns, a smile that's worth every dime and won't leave you penniless, right? Flexible, interest-free financing available. So we celebrate that. So in my mind, we make price experiential by making quality treatment affordable, which is very different for my market than being the cheapest. We also allow patients to customize their down payments, like a lot of you are doing, and make monthly payments to fit their desires and budgets. Again, the experience is not being the cheapest, but being the most affordable. So in conclusion, my goal for you all as you go back to your office, I know it's a Friday, when you go back to your office on Monday or Tuesday next week after this webinar, do a walkthrough of your office, do a thorough analysis of your whole practice, critically evaluate how your guests experience every aspect of your brand, your product, your place, your promotion, and finally your price. It all matters. So thank you all very much. 2 QR codes here again, and we have a few minutes for questions as promised. My email is here. The QR code on the right of your screen is for the notes. Please give my team, maybe middle of next week or with the holiday, now that I'm thinking about Thanksgiving, we'll try to get them out to you before the Thanksgiving holiday, if not soon after. And then the QR code on the left is for our in-office course in September. If anybody wants to come out and see this and a lot more in the office, we'd be happy to host you. So as of now, I will open up the floor to questions and turn things back over to Nina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bills. That was so insightful. I do have a few questions in the chat here, and I'm going to try to consolidate a few of them because some of them are pretty much asking the same question. But the first one here, this is a multi-part question, but how many monthly starts have you increased after starting DM? Do you charge a patient more for DM? If so, how much?
Okay. Yeah. So the first question, it's impossible for me to track, right? I could tell that I'm more efficient and I'm working on numbers with that. We're doing a study currently about the number of visits, number of appointments that we've had in our office since we've implemented DM. We've eliminated a ton, especially on the aligner side of aligner checks. I don't have the data on that yet, so I'm going to have to say, I'll get back to you with that. My gut feeling is we're gaining so many more appointment slots and we're going to be able to decrease days in the office, which is awesome. As far as new patients, the practice, knock on wood, is up on the year. I think about 12%. Last I checked. I have no way to know, is that because of DM or is it because of, our marketing efforts and everything else? So the jury's still out on that one. So I'll get back to you. The second part was, do we charge more? We do not. We include that as a value add in our treatment. And like a lot of things that we do, it's just a part of the way that we treat. And I don't believe in tripping over dimes to pick up, tripping over dollars to pick up dimes. I'd rather spend a little bit of money and then enjoy the efficiencies that come with it.
Great. And then the next one here says, do you find that DM pays for itself with saved chair time and braces patients finishing on time?
Yeah, I think it more than pays for itself. So in my estimation, and again, I'm working hard with some of my residents too to get some studies together on this. So I think the data will be out there shortly. I know for a fact in my gut that we are making significantly more money since we've implemented DM. Because, if you truly believe in value per visit as a real thing and you're practicing at full capacity, anytime you're opening up capacity, your value per visit goes up, your number of days you need in the office goes down, the number of team members that you need and your staff overhead goes down. So it's definitely a net win, at least in my opinion.
Okay, wonderful. And then I think we have room for one more question. This one's a little bit more in depth. So
Cool.
I think the other questions, maybe they'll be able to route to you with your email. But this one says, one of the common arguments I've seen for the in-person growth guidance visits is to maintain a personal relationship and also to not lose the patient due to the long period of time between visits. Do you find that this is an issue now that you're only seeing the patients face to face once a year? Do you find an issue getting patients or parents to remember their scan when it's 6 months away?
Yeah, and that incredible question. Maybe even somebody that I would lectured to before, because I've talked about that for years, especially being married to a successful pediatric dentist. Our OBS program now is north of 2,400 kids that we're monitoring and observation. So it's wild. I agree that communication piece, I don't want to lose track of patients. And it's funny, a lot of people say, I'm just going to see the patient once a year and get the same efficiency that you get. I look at that and say, no, I don't want to just see the patient once a year in the office. I am now convinced that the way I interact with them with dental monitoring is equal to or greater the level of engagement that they get when they come into the office. Because maybe because it's more technology based and the kids like it. We're starting things like patient education materials in our observation program. I've got a video shoot in January where I'm recording orthodontic dad jokes to be able to send to kids in our observation program. That might be on a monthly basis. So there's opportunity to end up engaging significantly more than we ever could with a traditional OBS program. So no, I don't think we're losing that touch point at all, and I think we're gaining a lot more.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we unfortunately we don't have any time left for questions, but what I will do, I've saved all the questions that we have in that Q&A queue, and I will reach out to each and every one of you individually, maybe to connect you with Dr. Dan to get those questions answered for you. And one more thing before we go, I'd like to share another QR code, which is our QR code for the CE credit, which I know a lot of you would want that. So if you can just take a picture of that QR code, that way you can get your CE credit for today's presentation. That would be wonderful. And thank you again so much, Dr. Bills. We learned so much from you today. It's always a pleasure having you on. And we will see you all in the next DM Connect webinar.
All right. Thanks, Nina. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.